Are we live? We're live. This is Graham Brown, ATP podcast, Pitchdeck Asia, joined by esteemed guests. To my left, Simon Kemp, Mr. Digital.
Evening all.
Evening all. Sabrina Wang, how you doing?
Good.
Excellent. Peggy Hang?
Yes.
Peggy, how you doing? Excellent. It's great to have everybody here. We're going to talk about the journey of two startups today. PINC Star, Fesso. We're going to talk about the why, how you got here, why you're sitting here today, and also the challenges you faced and the problems that you're hoping to solve. Simon's going to weigh in with his experience, a bit of social media background, a bit of digital insight as well.
Hopefully some insight.
So hopefully some insight. So maybe we can start at the top. Maybe we can do quick intros, a little bit about yourself, your background, and then we'll dive in, talk about what it is that you do, what's the problem that you're solving. Sabrina, let's start with yourself. PINC Star. You've been on the podcast before. You've got a really interesting background, and I think what makes you particularly interesting, to me at least, is that you're not a natural self-promoter. You're quite sort of shy a little bit. It takes a little bit of work to get her out, doesn't it?
It's more of the operation side, I would say.
Yeah. But you started as an entrepreneur quite young, didn't you?
Yes, but I also focus on the operational side of things.
But you're still an entrepreneur, don't deny that, right?
Yeah, of course. Manage. I think. Okay, so do I start now?
Yeah. So, well, maybe you can say, look, when did you first have your entrepreneurial experience? How old were you?
So my first business, I started it when I was 15.
Oh, yeah.
So, but like I mentioned the last time around. Back then, at 15, I cannot start a company, so I actually had to work with people that are older than me to actually start the business itself. So we actually focus on wholesaling. We do import-export of apparels, and then we actually sell it wholesale at Lion City. So,
wow, at 15. I have massive envy.
Yeah. What were you doing at 15?
Yeah.
Nothing
productive
no,
like that.
I have massive admiration as well as envy now.
So it was a wholesale business you started at 15?
Yes, correct.
Wholesaling what?
Apparel.
Yeah, what sort of apparel?
Clothing, can be blouse, skirts, dresses,
Right.
and really, okay, it doesn't really look nice now, kind of jeans.
Right.
Your like worn jeans that have like the tears and stuff. Yeah,
That's
so
fashionable.
it's kind of popular back then, and your bell bottoms kind.
Yeah. It's back to trend now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You should have kept a few of those. Vintage.
Okay, that would be a bit difficult. That's 20 years ago.
All right.
That's the same as my wardrobe still is 20 years ago. I'm going to have to ask you, how did you get into apparel at the age of 15?
Because I like shopping, that's one thing. So I was very familiar with fabrics.
Right.
And I saw that it was easy to start up in that sense, and I had people around me that were familiar with it as well, how to do the import and export. So after having some discussions, then we decided that we can actually put something together.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you think of yourself as an entrepreneur back then? Was it sort of a natural thing for you?
Actually, back then, all I wanted was to buy a car. So.
Yeah. There's a story behind that, right?
Yeah. So it wasn't so much about wanting to be an entrepreneur, and that wasn't the trend back then. But it's just more of like an objective. I want to buy a car, so I need to make money, and hence, do whatever it takes, which I guess is the entrepreneurial spirit. To do whatever it takes.
It's really interesting that you mentioned that it wasn't the thing to do back then. So I think an awful lot of entrepreneurs around the world, before we got into the current craze for startups, they got into business because it was the easiest way to achieve the things they wanted. Whereas now, of course, just being an entrepreneur is a thing in and of itself. But yeah, I think most people recognise that idea of I want to achieve something more than the crazy lifestyle that comes with being an entrepreneur. At least I hope so.
Or rather, it's like a novelty now. Like, entrepreneur as a status just sounds better.
That's cool now, isn't it?
Yeah, like in the past, we just sort of like happened to become an entrepreneur and not intentional.
Yes.
Is this now the thing you claim on your social media profile? I am an entrepreneur, yo.
Unintentional.
I actually have a 14-year-old kid that messaged me on LinkedIn saying that he's
on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and he said that
what's he doing on LinkedIn at 14?
He's an entrepreneur. And he wanted to like understudy me, and he's like 14.
Well, that's cool. I think that's cool. Yeah, if my son was doing that, I'd be proud.
The fact that he's even on LinkedIn is really
Totally.
Yeah.
There's people who come for interview here in their mid-20s and not on LinkedIn. So what the hell are you doing? Anyway, it's a different story. So Sabrina, we'll talk about you in a minute. Peggy, over to yourself. We'll come back to your story about Pink Style in a minute. Peggy, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, what's the story with yourself? Did you start entrepreneur as a teenager, like Sabrina? How did you get into all of this?
Well, actually, I would like to identify myself pretty similar to Sabrina. I'm like a little sister, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, in fact, I also started off entrepreneurship since 17 years old, just when I entered poly. Yeah, also in apparels. At that time, skinny jeans was in trend. So I was just shopping, and then everybody was crazy about skinny jeans, but they have no idea where to purchase it. So I started off with pre-order at that time. I just go up to the boss and I told him what if I can purchase 10 pairs of jeans? Will you give me a good discount? And he said, yeah, sure, why not? Now I'm selling it for $30 a pair, but if you can get it for 10 pairs, I'll sell it to you at $20. So I thought, okay, that's pretty good, right? So I went up and went selling this skinny jeans, which is hard to look for, at $39.90 per pair. And people just started ordering.
Right.
Yeah, in the end, I went up to him with 100 pairs of jeans. Yeah,
that's
my order. Yeah, exactly.
That's real entrepreneurship hustle.
Yeah, that's how I ended up with entrepreneurship. Yeah.
And you don't sort of approach it thinking, I'm going to start a business. It's sort of happening, isn't it? You spot an opportunity, you build on it.
Exactly. It wasn't even a wholesale place. It was just literally a retail shop. Yeah, and then eventually I just decided that I'm going to start my own retail shop at the age of 19 years old. Yeah, in fact, when I was 17, I told my mom, I don't think I want to study anymore. I'm just going to start my own retail shop. And she
how
said,
did that go?
Yeah.
Tumbleweed, crickets.
Funny story, she asked me how much savings do I have, and I said, actually I have about $3,000. I could pay for a month rental, and I could get some stuff in. And she's like, $3,000? Are you gonna rent a toilet space?
Wow.
Yeah. I know. Really
Thanks, Mum.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she said, save $10,000 before you talk to me about it. So eventually I went back to her at 19 with $20,000. Yeah, so I said, I'm going to study. And she said, oh, sure, go ahead with it. So I went to purchase everything by myself, renting the space, purchasing the cashier, all the stocks and everything. Yeah, so started my brick and mortar at 19 years old.
Your mum's a bit more supportive now, I'm guessing.
Yeah, she is. After I eventually managed to hand over to one of my followers for my shop as well. She bought it over from me. Yes, and then I decided that it's time for me to really do something bigger in the fashion world. Yeah, hence Faso Asia.
Excellent. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm curious to know, Peggy, with yourself, where does that hustle come from? Where does that, is it something that you've learned? Is it something that you've picked up? And this applies to you as well, Sabrina, from people around you, because it's a natural sort of sales skill, isn't it? That people sort of look at sales as sometimes as selling in a shop, for example, but it's that whole ability to spot an opportunity and to sell it for something of a higher value. You spotted an opportunity. Where does that come from? Is it something you had as a younger girl, or is it from people around you that sort of instilled you with that skill? Just curious.
Do you want to start off?
Yeah, you said. I think it's a good question.
Okay, so I think one thing is that you need to know yourself very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know what you're good at and what you're not. So when I started my first business itself, I know what I was good at and what I was definitely not. People management was something that I was good at even back then because I played a lot of computer games and I run clans. So it's the same thing in that sense.
So you learn how to manage a business by
playing computer games.
There you go, kids. You've got proof.
Stick at it.
I told justification playing games. Thank you, Sabrina. You've saved many happy lives there.
No, but seriously.
I was being serious as well. I think that's amazing. If you learn things from non-traditional routes, that is one of the core bits of entrepreneurship, right? So absolutely, if you're going to learn it from ways that aren't traditional, you've got an advantage there already.
Yeah, so what I wasn't good at is what Peggy is actually good at, which is the actual face-to-face hustling. I wasn't very good at that. So I'm a bit more subtle but I'm more structured in that sense as well. So I got people to actually do what I wasn't good at, and then we worked together to form the business itself. So until today, it's the same. I practice the same logic because I still know that I'm not as good. My EQ is not as high, as compared to others. So I work with people that actually have that skill set to actually add on to the companies.
Good for you.
But where did that original drive come from? So even the idea of starting a business. Are your family entrepreneurs? Are your friends? I'm guessing nobody else at the age of 15 of your friends is a massive entrepreneur. But, I mean, we talked about this in a recent show as well. It's not like it even occurred to me until I was in my 30s that running my own business was a thing. So where did that come from at 15?
I think it's because I'm very competitive in that sense. Much younger, I was doing competitive ice skating, figure skating.
Here we go.
Yeah, so in Singapore, it's not something common. I like things that are not common. So,
right. But have you seen how those ice skaters are pretty damn competitive, like the Tonya Hardings and this world? They're like evil competitive, right? It's like cutthroat competitive, right?
This is not you, is it, Sabrina? You're not that cutthroat.
Not that cutthroat, yeah.
Okay.
I still prefer team play games.
But you're instilled with that competitive spirit.
Yeah, so after that, I know that I couldn't make it in ice skating because I was way too old compared to everyone that was like so much younger. So
this is even at 15. That's all.
Yeah, so I was about 12, 13 then I started picking up computer gaming. So
that was an obvious transition. Ice skating to computer gaming.
Okay, so I lost one competition. I expected to at least get silver, but I ended up getting bronze. So I got I know that I couldn't make it already.
Ouch.
Yeah, and I was the oldest in the group, so I know that. Yeah,
she was depressed at home and decided.
Rebelling as well.
Yeah. No, I didn't rebel.
Did you not?
I was still studying.
Good for you. Good girl.
But there's the computer in front of me, and
Temptation is the way
forward.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're all nerds.
So
Peggy, what about yourself? I mean, Sabrina describes you as having the face-to-face hustle.
Yeah.
What's the origin of that?
I'm actually really a hustler since young. Like I've always, actually what she mentioned earlier on, we need to identify ourselves from young. In fact, I think we are sort of like born to do certain things in life. Yeah, like for me, I always knew that like I was different from other people. Whether is it the way I dress. When my schoolmates were still wearing t-shirts, like, with all the cartoons on it, I was already like dressed with like spaghetti and with like skirts and all that. So
What's spaghetti?
Spaghetti top, tank top, yeah. And fashion tip.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, and they just tell me things like, why are you dressed so differently from us? Yeah, and I always felt like I was the odd one out. Yeah, eventually I came to like accept the fact that I'm just different from other people. I think out of the box, and yeah, that's why even for work as well. I sort of like gave up like a good paying job at the age of 19. I was paid $5,000. Yeah, I decided that like I was with Microsoft for public relations at the time. Yeah, and then I decided that okay, I should start my brick and mortar, the retail shop.
And how did your family take to the idea of you leaving Microsoft and then doing your own thing? That must have been a bit of a blow, isn't it? We educated you to the standard, and you had this opportunity with Microsoft. If you stuck another 10 years, you could be running the world. But now, no.
It's kind of impossible to be running the world in Microsoft.
Well, maybe at 59, maybe. I don't know.
It's a journey.
Yeah, I was managing their merchandise for them at the time. So I think it's pretty similar to what I do. And I have passion in fashion. That's why I still end up there.
Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about the businesses. So, Sabrina, PINC. Is it PINC style? How do you...
PINC. It's just PINC, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what it is, and we'll talk about the fundraising as well.
Okay, so PINC is basically a social commerce platform that actually incentivizes content creators, and it also helps merchants to actually reach out to more people. It also helps marketers to actually get more data. So it's a bit of combination kind of platform, an ecosystem. So we basically use artificial intelligence to help personalize the shopping experience for users, and then blockchain to verify and increase transparency. So it also reduces like it reduces like fake news or like bot things and stuff like that. Yeah. So basically the platform. Why we actually created the platform itself was because that we find that in social media itself, we actually give our content, but we actually don't get any remuneration from it. So because of that itself, we feel that it's not very fair for users that are actually providing the content. So hence we actually developed this platform itself so that users can actually gain some remuneration from the platform, as well as share the content, share what they love to their trust network, and that in turn actually helps brand owners to actually find their loyal ambassadors.
So talk me through an example of how somebody would use it. Is it only for women or not?
No, it's not only for women. It's actually for both genders itself.
Right.
But right now we are focusing a little bit more on women.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so just so let's clear that so people understand. So how do you use it? So if I was using it, what would I do?
I suppose Graham's creating content.
Yeah,
How
I'm creating
does he turn it
content.
into money?
Yeah, it's actually very simple.
Right.
If you have used Instagram before, it's basically you just upload a photo,
Yeah.
you put in a caption, you can tag users, you can hashtag, and at the same time you can also tag products. So we actually have an open catalog. We work with over 700 international brands carrying over 10 million SKUs.
It doesn't sit on Instagram, is that right?
No, it doesn't
Right.
sit on
Right.
Instagram. Yeah. But the logic of it is the same. So every action itself, like from the posting to the liking to the commenting itself, we actually give points for it.
And does it work through an app?
Right now, we're actually on a web platform. We are actually developing our app, and it will be launched end of the year.
Okay.
Right. So is every post about a product or?
No,
No.
tagging of the products or services itself is really up to the individual. As long as you actually contribute content, we actually give you points for it. But whenever you actually tag products, you gain extra points. And
Right.
if, let's say, for example, because what we believe here is that every individual will have at least 5 friends, and these 5 friends will actually trust that individual.
Right.
So when you actually recommend a product, they are more inclined to actually make the purchase. So it's really up to you whether or not you actually want to tag the product or service, or you don't want to.
Right.
So as a user on this, am I going in on there to both create and share my own content, but also to discover new products? Is that kind of,
Yes.
it's that equal balance, is it? So it's not just that I go in there only to create content and then I go away again. I'm also looking through, I'm assuming there's some kind of social feed where I can see potential
Correct.
products.
Yes. So there's a discovery section that you can actually discover other users as well as products.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the more you actually interact with the platform itself, the more understanding the platform has, and then from there it actually helps to curate your discovery feeds.
Okay. Very interesting. So what sort of products do really well on that platform?
We are kind of new actually. This is the 4th month in business.
Right.
So right now, I can't really answer that
Right.
question.
Well, what's your intuition? Is it, for example, lifestyle products? Or is it like cosmetics, or is it food, or what?
We focus more on FMCG in general, but fashion apparel is one of our main focuses right now. So most of the brands are fashion apparel brands. So we are starting to open up more for F&B as well as cosmetics, beauty products.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. What do you think you're doing that Instagram or Facebook aren't doing?
Okay, so Instagram, Facebook, they are very focused on advertising. On our platform itself, we actually focus more on the engagement portion as well as the transactional portion, and we also implemented a gamification model so that it actually entices users to actually stay on the platform itself, interact more, and like go up the leaderboard chart.
Okay. Okay. It's competitive, right?
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that theme coming back again.
Are you winning? Are you on the top of the leaderboard yourself, Sabrina?
I'm not in the games. I don't qualify for
Vicariously
it.
living through these players.
So just in terms of how you reward those people who are creating the content through, how are they getting something back for their efforts? Are you giving them a share of
Yeah,
something?
okay. So whenever they actually post content, they actually get points from it. So whenever they actually recommend products to their trust network itself, a transaction is made, they actually get a cut from the commission that we actually gain from the merchant itself. So every merchant is actually curated by our platform so that we actually assure the delivery and the quality of the product itself.
Okay.
So for example, if let's say a product, we are getting a 10% cut, the person actually recommended a product will get about 4 to 5%.
Okay, good.
Go on.
We'll go a bit deeper in a minute. I want to talk about the financials and also the raise at the moment. So you've been going 4 months.
Yeah.
You have 5 co-founders in total? How many?
Yeah, 5 of us, yes.
All right, so you have 5 co-founders. How have you funded it up until your raise?
So initially, the founders actually put in some money, and we also actually have VC backing us, and yeah, basically. And right now, technically, we're actually revenue generating.
Right. So you're already generating revenues.
Okay, so we are still building the platform, so a lot of the revenue is actually not generated from the platform yet. However, we actually right now we work a bit like an agency, so we help to generate content for our brand owners itself. So we opened up this channel because we also want more local brands onto the platform. And what we notice is that local brands they don't know how to actually engage on social media, and they don't have the budget like your Lenovo and this kind of brands that actually have the budget that can actually advertise on Facebook or Instagram. So on our platform itself, we actually help them to actually generate the content and the engagement itself, and then reach out on the different platforms that they are actually on as well.
So it's looking at both a local audience as well as a more perhaps global audience in there. I think one of the things that I find quite difficult for brands on things like Facebook is that it can be a little bit, it seems quite global, even though you've got your local networks as well. And I think that a lot of small businesses like the idea of that opportunity to connect with their local communities, and it sounds a bit like you might have a way of doing that. Is that fair?
Yes. So the thing here is that a lot of SMEs in Singapore, they actually don't have that size to actually expand overseas. So when you're actually on Facebook, on Instagram, you actually get it's quite crowded in the marketplace itself. So here what we build up for each right now, at least for the domestic market, is actually to allow these SME owners to actually engage with a smaller crowd, a bit more niche, so that it's more targeted to their products and services.
Okay. And the raise itself, you're currently raising funds. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so for this round itself, we're actually looking to raise about 500,000 USD, mainly because we want to expand out our team itself. We are actually going a bit into deep tech with the AI personalization as well as the blockchain itself. So that requires actually very specific skill sets. So which our current investment does not actually enable us to cover that kind of salary range.
So is this all right if I ask a question straight in about the blockchain? Because I think it's quite an important point, but it may not be the most appropriate time on the show.
Yeah, let's do pay in and we'll jump back into blockchain. Because that could go on for at least an hour, I think.
I'm hoping it won't, because I don't understand nearly enough about it to be able to hold that conversation. But yeah, go.
All right.
Sorry.
Let's park blockchain. Peggy, yourself, FESO, what's it about?
Yeah, okay. So FESO is a short term for Female Entrepreneur Society organization. Basically, we started it with the intention to empower women. So we provide a platform for women to connect with one another, to also have like a panel of like a committee to assist them and give them advices. But eventually we realized that FESO will be we need to package them also from the exterior as well to provide a good image. Yeah, therefore we also came up with our own style box to style them from top to bottom.
What's the style box? Explain to me. Somebody who doesn't understand style.
So this style box, right? Okay, generally I would like to say that it is kind of like Grab in the fashion industry. I've seen like how people have moved forward with the trend, like not owning a car, but being able to be chauffeured around. It's the same concept for FESO. You don't want to own clothes anymore, but you want to have unlimited apparels that you can have access to.
Right.
Yeah, and therefore, you just subscribe to our subscription box, which is now, just a side note, we just hit our target of 100 subscriptions within 2 weeks.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And therefore, we have already stopped our promotion price at $89 per month.
All right, get it in there.
Yeah, so it's now $139 a month,
right,
which is still really affordable because technically, think about it, a girl would want to purchase like a designer apparel, and that would easily cost more than $100 for just one apparel. But in the subscription box, we provide 5 apparels. Yeah, so meaning to say you'll receive the box once you subscribe to us in September, which is our official launch. And then with the box, once you finish wearing all 5 apparels, you can change it anytime you want to.
So do they own the clothes or they rent them?
Yes, so they don't own it because we realize this issue with ladies. Most of the time, we never repeat our clothes.
Wasteful.
You and me.
Right.
Yeah, I've got at least 4 days out of this one.
So we are targeting this issue, and we want to resolve this problem, which is wastage and also laundry. You don't need to do
Right,
your
yeah,
laundry
exactly.
anymore, because we covered that
Well,
part as
you
well.
ladies are busy as well, so you don't have time to do it.
Exactly. Therefore, it's also back to our intention to support women. You see, because we are also busy with our work and businesses.
Yeah.
So we want to focus more on that than
Excellent.
washing clothes.
So I'm familiar with business models like Rent the Runway, which have been really successful in the US. And do we have anything like that in Asia? Is there any sort of like, are you aware of any other sort of businesses like yourself offering this kind of service in Asia? Is this new to Singapore?
Well, I would say it's not entirely new. In fact, leasing of fashion apparel has been around, but so for subscription boxes as well. But in terms of fashion subscription box with social cost behind it, we are definitely the first.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I imagine the challenge must be that you must have to build a lot of trust with your customers, because they're trusting you by giving you this money on a regular basis to come with good suggestions of like clothes that they can wear. So you really have to understand them as well. So that must be a real challenge, really getting to understand them. How do you go about doing that? How do you really sort of get into their heads and hearts and understand what they want?
Yes, exactly. So we have a lot of engagement as well. So because this box is only officially launched in September, as of now, it's all just pre-sign up. Basically, they have already paid for a box that technically doesn't exist yet until September, right? So it's based on trust, and also because they know me as a person. I mean, I have been a blogger for over 10 years. And I'm also an international DJ, so I've already built my credibility, and they already know my sense, my fashion sense as well. So this, brings back to the topic that it helps them to.
That's fine. You're doing really well. So you've built. You're very high profile, and you've pre-sold 100 subscriptions, and you're launching in September.
And when you said that you've got these people that trust you, are you then going to be the one that is helping to decide and choose what particular items go into that box? So you almost their stylist as much as, is that how it works?
Well, so they get to pick their catalog.
Right.
Yeah, so now we close the subscription in August, we will release the designs for them to pick. Right. Yeah, so we also sort of understand what they are looking for, and we also have like surveys, to let them know like the kind of like designs that we will release later on as well. So in September, in fact, the outfits that they will receive are the ones that they pick on their own. Yeah, but subsequently we also hope to become their consultant. If they are actually comfortable with the designs, they'll just let us be the one to decide.
Right.
And it's just a broad range of different kinds of. So you've got fashions for work, fashions for going out, fashions for living. Well, you've got a broad variety.
Exactly.
Are you able to tell us any of the brands that will feature in that, or is that still a secret?
Well, actually, we already have a few merchants that are coming on board. They are mostly like the current trendy brands who are like, the hypebeast style. But we also have like fashion for like corporate ladies, and also for events and parties. One of the local brands that has shown us a lot of support is Love Freya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So it's our local designer brand.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, so there's a local theme to that as well.
Oh yes, actually the intention of Vessel is also to provide a platform for local designers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a really important point to make because you're supporting both sides of the ecosystem there. I think that's a big part of the momentum there. If you're supporting local designers as well as helping people to solve a day-to-day need as
I saw that in the Rent the Runway case. The biggest challenge that she faced in America was convincing the retail brands, the designers, to allow their stuff to be rented effectively in these subscription boxes.
Yeah.
But that point about supporting the community was really what made it work. When she went out and said, "Hey, look, this is an opportunity to get in front of these influential customers," then they clicked and thought, "Oh, actually, this is what we need to get," because for them it's like really hard to get into the right spaces to get their designs across the right people.
And the frequency of it as well. I think that's another good thing about this is that there are a variety of, if you think about the way that, it's terrible asking you to talk about fashion, but the way that fashionable people
on behalf of women.
I'm not doing that.
Yes, but we all understand the importance of bringing in the connections together because, one brand, how much can you do?
Yeah, that's it.
But
how frequently did you buy one brand?
Exactly, but if we have a number of brands coming together and sharing the contact base, that would be fantastic.
Awesome. Let's talk about your financials. How have you funded it up until this point?
So our capital investment, in fact, before we have even registered the company, investors were already pouring in with their interest. Maybe because of my entrepreneurship background as well. So we are currently invested, but we still have some equity to give up. So we are looking at remaining probably about 8%.
8%. Right. So you have a raise to do at the moment. Is that so? You've done the sort of the early round, the friends and family, and the early stage investors.
Yes.
You're now doing a top up round at the moment.
Not exactly. We are looking at value-adding investors.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So how much are you raising, and what kind of people are you looking for? Because you're obviously quite specific about the kind of investor you're looking for, right?
Yes. We would hope for more women.
Right. We're out.
Yeah, because in fact one of our investors is in the finance industry. The reason why he came in is because his target audience are mainly working mothers, and therefore he aligned with our cause. Therefore, we allow him to be part of our investors.
You allow him.
Yes.
So, can you disclose how much you're raising?
We were raising $250,000.
250,000, yes, for 8%. Or
Yes.
9%. Okay, we won't hold you down on the figures, obviously.
Yeah.
We'll put all the details in the show notes if people want to contact you. But
Yes,
roughly,
please.
just so people have got an idea. Great. You want to talk about blockchain, don't you?
Well, it's not that I want to talk about blockchain. I think when I first saw the overview of PINC, I was quite intrigued about the idea of this combination of AI and blockchain. I confess, I'm one of those cynical skeptics that looks at it and goes buzzwords, but certainly the way you explained it there, I think that I want to help you to tell that story to the people who are listening in, and realising that it's not just a clever use of blockchain for the sake of using it. When you mentioned the idea of removing some of that, well, I think increasing transparency and security. So just to give some context for the people who are listening into the show, hello folks. So the CMO at Unilever, Keith Weed, recently said that he has grave concerns over influencer marketing because there is a huge amount of fraud in terms of people lying about the number of followers, buying fake followers, all this kind of stuff. So we know that the world of influencer marketing is not as clean, shall we say, as it could be. And from what it sounds like, the blockchain solution that you guys are building is a very smart answer to that. So without going into the technicalities of it and trying to pretend that I know about blockchain as well, can you tell us a little bit about how that works and how it's going to help the brands that you're going to work with to support? Is that a fair question? Am I putting you on the spot too much?
No, actually, that's one of the problems that we're actually trying to solve, because we understand the fact that being in social media for such a long period of time, there are people that actually purchase likes and followers. So those, I find that these numbers itself actually doesn't quantify or actually convert into ROI. So on our platform itself, we focus on transactions. So hence, we are actually able to quantify influence in that manner, which is why that is one of our service models as well, to actually help to quantify the influence to brand owners so that they actually know who their brand advocates are and who are actually helping them to sell their products. So it's not focused so much on how many likes you have, how many followers you have, but how much sales you can actually conduct for the brand itself and how much you actually love the brand.
The brand am I right in understanding that the brand only pays when a sale takes place?
Yes, correct.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is why I said that we actually don't focus so much on advertising. We focus on the engagement portion as well as the transactional portion of it.
No, so it's a proper affiliate end-to-end model in that sense.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's
And
very tight.
yeah. So the reason why we actually utilize blockchain, there's a few reasons for it. I mean, one is because of the reward system we actually in place on our platform. So that actually makes sense for us to actually convert it into a digital asset. On top of that, of course, the transparency portion and verification, using blockchain itself, the KYC process will also already be done. And of course, you can't actually bot the KYC process itself. So we can actually verify the users and also verify the content, and also can easily hold people responsible for faking news as well.
Okay, I think you've answered an awful lot of the concerns that many of the clients that I speak to on a regular basis voice when they talk about influencer marketing. It is obviously one of the biggest topics in the internet, social media at the moment. Is influencers are a great opportunity. We've just had news last week that Kylie Jenner's worth close to $1 billion based on influencer. So yeah, any share of that, and it already starts to get quite interesting. Now, obviously, she's the top of an enormous pyramid where there are a huge number of people at the bottom that are not making that money yet. But yeah, I think that was what I wanted to know about the blockchain influence.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? It's that's the biggest challenge. That these companies, they're spending all this money on influencer marketing, and there's a big chunk of it which is gamed in some way. I mean, there's the very nefarious aspect of gaming, which is the dark art of. I'm not gaming in the positive sense as well. There's people who ask their friends to go out and like their stuff and so on.
Will you share my posts?
Yeah, exactly. But for an advertiser or a marketer, it's about, is this actually being liked? Is it actually getting out there? Is it driving sales? And we haven't really moved on from traditional advertising, have we? Where they used to say 50% of my marketing. Well, it's clueless, isn't it?
50% is wasted. I think it's a considerable amount more of that a lot in marketing and digital at the moment, because there's so much stuff that you can waste your money on if you're not careful. Yeah. But the influencer piece in particular is full of dangers.
I think in the past, marketing with influencers are more like a gamble. Yeah. And then now it's more of like an investment, because at least with PINC, you can really understand who you should target and who you should engage.
Right. Yourself, Peggy, you have described yourself as an influencer in the past.
Yes.
In the past.
I'm actually the pioneer of bloggers in Singapore.
Right.
I started since I was 17 years old.
What was that, just out of curiosity, when it came to, if we can talk about it in the context of influencer marketing, you've seen probably a lot of things going on. Yes. So can you share with us what the challenges would have been for us trying to get that in a very sort of open and trustworthy manner? Was there a lot of gaming going on with influencer marketing?
To be very honest, it's really hard to stay true to the numbers. Somehow you feel like you're being peer influenced into getting numbers, but eventually, you that this gamification is not going to last. Yeah. Eventually, the advertisers are going to find out that it's about the quantity, about the quality and not the quantity, and therefore, I decided to just keep as my numbers, keep it as it is, and not try to buy followers.
But there's a flip side of that as well, isn't it? That advertisers want you to promote stuff which you're not happy with, because either it doesn't fit with your message, or it just doesn't fit into what you're doing at that time. So, how do you? I was just wondering about, with what Sabrina's doing, how that sort of you think addresses that as well, because people talk about native advertising now, trying to make it authentic. Rather than this podcast is sponsored by ABC soda, right? Oh, by the way, let's just have a break and let's eat some nachos, which are sponsored by Doritos or whatever. So how do you? That must be a challenge, isn't it? I'm wondering, how are people sort of getting around that? What's the answer to that?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is not depending on just being a social media blogger or influencer. For example, today I'm here because I'm interested to share about the business, about tech. If you are inviting me on Asia's Next podcast, I probably wouldn't be part of it. It's the same answer for influencers or bloggers in general. We review things that we enjoy and we really see that it could be part of our platform, rather than just picking every single product to talk about it. Because we only have just a few posts to share about every other day. You can't be flooding your entire Instagram. Yeah.
Although that is one of the challenges in the industry, is that there are people flooding.
Yeah, there are. So we try to stay as authentic as possible by picking only brands that we like to share about.
Yeah.
And in terms of how that works on PINC, I'm assuming that the people that are creating the content and sharing it, they're going to choose which brands they want to promote. Is that how it works?
Yes, correct. So generally, that's why we say that we actually help brand owners actually find their loyal ambassadors, because when you actually tag the product, you personally probably already own the product. That's why you're able to actually tag the product itself. Sure. So that means that you're actually engaging someone that actually purchases your product. Yeah.
Right.
So suppose there's a very easy future to this that you could imagine, which gets a little bit awkward. Suppose that Peggy gets particularly successful on your platform for promoting fashion products, for example. She keeps on talking about all the ones that she loves, and she gets a name for herself as doing well. And then, Mr. Entrepreneur Simon launches a terrible fashion brand, which Peggy just looks at and goes, "This is ghastly." But because she's really successful on your platform, I come along and go, "Hey, Peggy, do stuff for me." Does that does that fit within the model? Are you going to try and make that not happen? Are you still open to doing that?
Does money talk?
Yeah.
So the thing here is that we don't do advertising. So
Right.
if let's say the brand actually goes to the influencer and engages the influencer for it, we won't stop them because
Right.
we expect the platform to grow. So we won't know that that is happening
Gotcha.
either.
So it's up to the individual who is promoting to decide the brand that they want to promote.
Correct. Yes.
Is promote on a word that you would use? How would you describe the process? Is it promotion? Because you said it's not advertising. I like that.
Yeah.
So what is it?
I think it's an advocate.
Advocate, yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you really like
Nice.
it, and therefore you wear it to share. In fact, I'm one of the ambassadors.
Yeah.
There you go. That's why you know so much. I'm curious, is it just, I mean, something maybe, Simon, you can weigh in as well, all your experiences, is there a difference between somebody who is, for example, has a large following and can generate a lot of eyeballs and attention for your product, and somebody who can actually sell it? So you're talking about rewarding people for selling a product. Are they necessarily like the heavy self-promoters out there, or is it, are some people not necessarily like the Kardashians, for example, but can actually get your product sold? So, because it could be quite confusing for a brand, isn't it? Like if you look and think, well, I've got to go where all the eyeballs are, and that's the Kardashians, right? And that's going to cost me money. But are they the actual ones who can move your product?
So you see, you're going back to advertising
Yeah,
again.
yeah. Put me in my place, Sabrina.
Good.
Yeah, like I said, the platform itself, we don't focus on the advertising portion of it. So how many followers, followers and fans that you actually have is important, but not the most important.
Right.
So our statistics actually will show which user itself or content creator actually are able to actually push for products. How they actually push the products, that one is really depends on the individual itself.
Right.
Yeah.
So does the brand approach the individual, or do they come through you, or is it a bit of both?
Like I said, I don't do the advertising portion of it because we also want to open up our platforms to allow other agencies to actually build upon it.
Right.
So if agencies wants to come on board and then start engaging the influencers as a third party, as a service itself, we are definitely open to that. But on our end, we actually will not be providing this service because we want it to be fair play.
Right. So suppose that Ice Mountain decides that they want to engage in... That's just lame as it gets, isn't it? Suppose they wanted to engage an influencer. Would they go direct to that person? It's not like they would come to PINC and say, right, we want 20 influencers to talk about our water. They would go direct to an individual?
Yes, they can actually go to the individual. One thing here is that on our platform, we actually have a SAS solution. So you can actually generate the reports and then from there see which influencer actually is leading the leaderboard or for what kind of categories. And then from that itself, you can actually gauge on your own.
So the difficult things in influencer marketing is knowing who's actually delivering results.
Yeah, well, that's kind of my point from earlier. Is that I wanted to know is that the kind of information that they're looking for, right? If you can say, look, this person in this beverage category can sell beverages, they're not necessarily the most famous one, right?
Yes.
You might have just 100 followers, but
Right.
entire 100 followers decide to buy the product. That
Right.
means you are influential.
Why is that? Is that because they're engaging the followers in a different way, or are they? What is that person doing?
Well, you see, a lot of influencers, they are pretty versatile. They talk about everything. But there are some influencers, one niche. If let's say, for example, I'm a wine expert, I only talk about wine. You're going to believe in me rather than some other,
Generalist.
influencer.
Yeah.
Generalists, right? So I think that's what they are going for. They want people who really advocate like the certain product that they like.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that's one of it. The other thing is also like I mentioned earlier, we actually believe that every individual is influential. It's just the amount of influence they have and how many people they actually influence. So like even
Yeah.
Graham yourself.
Yeah,
I've
when
got
you followers.
post
One
something.
or two are out
Yeah, I
there.
think
The
this is an
celebrity.
opportunity for everyone to
Yeah.
actually be part of the influencer
Right.
network.
But could I then sort of work out what actually I'm good at selling in that sort of bizarre way? Because I couldn't say I can shift these 10,000 units of these because I don't have experience of that. But if I was to go into the platform, could I work out what people of my sort of following would buy? Is that possible?
Actually, the statistics that will be generated, they will know exactly what are the products that they manage to sell as well. Right?
Yes, yeah. So that's one thing. The statistics are actually more focused for the marketeers and brand owners itself, not really for the individual.
Right.
But of course, in the insights itself, you can actually see what you're actually pushing and how much sales you have actually conducted, so you kind of like know what kind of the kind of things that your followers actually like.
Will that data be public, or do I need to do something clever to get it? So suppose that I'm just first time I've ever heard about PINC as a marketer. I come in and I just want to see, will I be able to look at those sort of data reports straight away, or do I need to sign up and start paying? Or
Correct. Yes. So it's a subscription model itself. So of course your own data, you can definitely see your own data. That's kind of obvious. But for
I was going to get inside.
Yeah, you smell a rat there. You go right after it. So.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, definitely.
It's hugely valuable. I mean, the amount, so I'll be quite transparent about this, the amount of money that a brand will pay an agency like the ones that I used to work in to identify even 10 influencers within a specific, I mean, we're talking a lot of money here. That data, if you have something that is tangible to say person X is selling significantly amount more than person Y, even though person X has less than 25% of the followers, once you get into that kind of data, that is the sort of thing that big multinationals will be paying significant amounts of money for if you can scale it. Now, I know that's one of the big things that you're talking about today is how you go about scaling that thing, but just listening to the way you're talking about it there, provided you can get the initial traction from the users, I think that obviously that's one of your big challenges, is you've got to get that first, but as soon as you get that momentum behind it, then you can see that people in almost any category are going to be queuing up to see that because influence is hot across all topics. Just out of interest, are there any categories you're not going to be? So would you do alcohol, for example?
So on our open catalog right now, we don't have alcohol. I'm not very sure about the regulations about that yet.
Right.
So we actually go step by step because we don't want to jump the gun either.
Sure.
And so for fashion wise, we know that it's pretty straightforward. So the next thing would be lifestyle consumer goods, which, like I mentioned, like F&B products, and of course beauty products itself. So one thing here is that our concern mainly is also the deliverables, because we want to ensure that whenever anyone makes actually a purchase on our platform itself, it will actually be delivered. So right now, there's a lot of peer-to-peer platforms, but the problem here is that because it's not curated, so the merchants, if they don't deliver it, you can't really go after the person.
That's the experience, isn't it, at the end of the day? That's the experience that your customer will have.
Correct. That's why we rather curate our merchants itself before they actually come along.
So you're still carefully selecting who is allowed to create content at this stage?
So users can create content. We don't curate that. But the merchants that they actually tag, that we curate.
Right.
Gotcha. And you've got Peggy, you're on board as a user.
Yes, I am the ambassador, and in fact, that's all. We have a lot of tie-ups with PINC as well, because we have merchants who are coming into our subscription box, and eventually, people will also use the platform to showcase the outfits and all that.
Win-win.
Yes.
Well, it's been delightful speaking to you both, and I think inspirational as well. I love what you're both doing, and you are both. I know you might not necessarily all describe yourself as it, but hustlers, I mean, in a very positive way.
Yeah.
I think it's cool, isn't it? I mean, the fact that you can sort of show that there are many options available for entrepreneurship out there. You're not necessarily going to Stanford and graduating, walking straight into Accelerator with building an AI startup. There's many other ways to build successful businesses, right? And what you're doing has been, it's been a lot of fun as well. So I wish you all the best.
So,
any other parting thoughts, Simon?
No, I just think the fact that you both started out when you were so young and you've had non-conventional routes to get here, I just hope that is as inspiring to other people as it has been listening to it here in the studio. I think I wish I'd had even the inclination to do it even slightly older than when you started.
We're still 20, whatever, wasn't it? So fine. All right, good. Sabrina Wang and Peggy Hang, it's been a pleasure having you here. Simon, thank you very much for joining us today as well.
Thanks from me to both of you as well.
Yeah, we'll put all your details in the show notes, so if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they can make contact.
On a side note, we are still very young.
Yeah. Well, of course.
We are.
I thought that was obvious, so I didn't give it away.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.